Hello, people. It's a last minute Sunday show we decided to do, and we're going to talk to you about it. We got some interesting calls, but first, let me have Danny say hello to you, and then we'll say hi to people in the chat room, and then we'll move on from there. Danny, how you doing?
Good, very good. I'm glad everybody's joining us. Got an interesting show today, so stay tuned.
We sure do. John O'Master, thank you for being here. Miss Can't Be Wrong, like always. Michael Hensley. Sid Raghunath owned Hogwood. You're a new name. I haven't seen you here before, but if you're here for the Gunner story, you probably made a good decision to wait around. Michael, okay. Steve Marinello, thank you. James Weldon, JJ. Okay, people, we're going to wait until a few more tactical crew chief. We're going to wait for a few more people to get in here, and we're just going to go over the basics. So, Danny, how's your health? Do you feel like have you taken the test to see if you still got COVID left?
Yeah, I took the test last night. It was negative, so I'm doing a lot better. I still have an annoying cough, but other than that, I feel great.
But the most important thing, it's not in your body.
Nah.
I get to remove my dressing on Tuesday, and I'm looking forward to that because it's irritating as hell.
Sure.
Okay, let's see. Looks like a good show, Lee and Danny. Well, we hope it's a good show, people. What we try to do here is put good shows together for you guys. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Hope you guys are on the mend. Christopher, yes, we are.
Thanks, Chris.
And we appreciate that. And we're going to get to the good stuff. We just want a few more people to get in here. Gangster Report is basically saying the Detroit Mafia is dead. Detroit Mafia still has a segment of a family. Jack Alone's running it, the younger son. And I don't know how young he is now, but he's young. All the old timers are gone now. And you have to understand, people. Danny, how would you explain the mob families now compared to, say, 20 years ago?
Oh, well, they're very much decimated. I mean, look at the Colombo crime family with this last indictment. They're not dead by no stretch of the imagination, but they're not what they once were, that's for sure. And that pretty much goes for any of the crime families to this day. So,
yeah, and when you think about it, people, the crime families now, actually when they had all those soldiers, it was harder to control the families. Would you say that it's easier for these guys to control the families now?
Well, to a certain extent, yeah.
And it's a different type of crime. One thing.
Well, yeah, it's not what it was 30 years ago. And obviously with the amount of people that are being informed upon and rats that are out there, the mafia is two legs to the ground. You know what I'm saying? Because, what's basically left to it, they have to adjust with the times and try to do different things than what they used to do.
Yes. And that's what they're doing. They're doing internet stuff. What kind of stuff would you think they're still doing?
Oh, cyber is huge. They're doing a lot of that stuff, and they're still penetrating the Wall Street area and things like that. But I'm still sure that their main crux of, prostitution, loan sharking, gambling and whatnot is still prevalent.
So you're saying that things that have been around for 2,000 years are still prevalent?
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. Prostitution and gambling is not going to go away, people.
Absolutely not.
Those are the sins that people seem to love the most. Okay, let me see who else came in here. Okay, USMC 24th. Let's see what you have to say. Gunner took organized crime to another level by doing business with that organized crime figure, Rabbi David Felton. Okay. Gambling, loan sharking, and prostitution. That's it. The Chinese control OC now. Yeah, but they're still being watched too. Let's face it. The biggest gang, the biggest mafia is the United States government. If they're not getting their piece, would you say that probably the most successful mafia right now is the United States government?
Without a question.
Mob Talk Radio, thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. Gunner will be a capo soon since he moves in silence and uses violence. Okay. Grandbino, Gunsmoke, you're here. You still got that name. We know you as Gunsmoke Don. Why are you trying to confuse us? Oh, Bill Jordan. Lee Cole and FBS Simp Leftist Wannabe podcast.
Don't block him. Leave this moron on here because he's a simpleton, this guy.
Yes. And you see, Bill Jordan used to be a big fan of the show.
That's all right.
But once the, let's say, the trolls got excommunicated from this show, he's upset now. And then
I'm sure he's a Gunner ass licker too, you know. So
and then he sends me an email today stating that our show is dying.
Yeah. Well, why don't he come on? Why don't he come on and enlighten us? Because I'd like to talk to this fucking jerk job.
And this guy used to call himself one of my friends. Yeah. And then when we didn't do what he wanted to, he said, F you, Lee, took off. So Bill Jordan.
Let him go back to Angel's show and get the fuck out of here.
But you know what, Bill? We're going to be fair to you. We're going to let you stay in there. We're not going to block you. You know, so people pretty much get the crux of who you are and your loyalty to this show. Okay. And just so you know, people, our numbers are way up. Our subs were about to go over 4,000. People like Bill Jordan want our show to fail, but it won't. And the people that come on this show, it's not about getting 300 viewers. It's about getting loyal viewers that are going to stay. Okay, Tommy Siggs, how you doing? Good afternoon from New Jersey. Hope everything's nice there in New Jersey, North Jersey. Okay, Danny, Michael Hensley agrees with you 110%.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, so let's start getting into this. Surprisingly, I got a call from a guy named Paulie Carrado. He was a capo in the Detroit Crime Family, and he's been shelved. He came back, but he did 13 years. How many years did he do in prison?
Yeah, I think he did 13.
13 years. Out of everybody that was indicted, he did the most time. Now, who was the guy that ratted, Danny?
Novi Tocco, or Tocco, however you want to pronounce it. Tocco,
and he got sentenced to 20 years and only did like a year and a half, 2 years. So it's obvious that he ratted everybody out. Everybody, you know, and that's basically like every other family. That's what brought down the family. So Paulie Carrado got a hold of me, and he was really upset. And Danny, he was upset because Gunner's been saying stuff, once again, putting people's names in his mouth that don't belong in his mouth. I asked Gunner 2 weeks ago to come on this show. He said, surely I'll be on the show. He's blown me off, so he can't be here to defend himself. But what's right is right. I'm going to do the show. Danny, just to confirm, did you speak to Paulie Carrado today?
Yeah, I spoke to Paulie approximately 3 o'clock this afternoon. No, I'm lying. 2 o'clock this afternoon. We had a 25-minute conversation. I got nothing but good things to say about the guy. So I believe what he says. He has no reason to lie. He's not in that life anymore. He's not looking for any kind of fame. He just wants Gunner to keep his name out of his fucking mouth.
Okay, and just so you know, Gunner stated that he knew Paulie Carrado. And what did Paul say? What did Paulie tell you about that?
Well, Paulie told me unequivocally he never met Gunner, doesn't know Gunner, and Gunner never met him. Period. Point blank. He didn't elaborate. He said, the guy, I never met him.
And he keeps using the name that he knows Paulie Carrado and the Carrados. Now,
and he also says he knows Carrado's brothers, family members, father. He knew his father, which is a complete lie. Paulie said that, and the time frame doesn't fit when Gunner apparently said he met or talked with them. So,
Miami Mike said I put the alleged boss in the thing. No, there's a story behind that. Sorry. Okay, Danny. So basically, what he's saying is he says he does not know Gunner at all. Explain to people exactly who Paulie Carrado is and his family.
Paul was eventually made a captain in the Detroit Mafia. He was a soldier. He was partners with Novi Tocco, that obviously turned state evidence and became an informer later on, got out of his 20-year sentence. But just for the record, a lot of people are going to say Paul was a rat or an informant, which is absolutely unequivocally untrue. I've looked at several FBI reports, more than several, actually 13. The only thing that comes out was that a news reporter said the FBI said he was a cooperating informant, which is a fallacy. Paul never cooperated with the United States government. He did 13 years behind what he was convicted on. So he never ratted. So if anybody wants to come forward and say he's a rat, before you open your fucking mouth, show me the paperwork, because I have copies here of FBI statements where there is no mention of the FBI accusing him of being an informant. Only one that was an informant was Novi Tocco, who's riding around Detroit now. So if anybody wants to kill him, he's not hiding.
Don't take that back. Take that back, Danny, please.
I take that back.
Okay. Well, basically, what happened is Novi came back into the family when Jackalone died, the most senior one, from what I understand. At that point, he realized that the mob's not like it used to be. There's certain people around that aren't going to hurt him anymore. But there's a couple other things that we want to go over. Okay, so he said his father, Dominic, that was Paulie Carrado's father. Is that correct?
Yeah, Fats. Yeah,
and he owned several businesses.
Well, I believe it was construction or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he also and then he also had he had 50% of the Central Sanitation Company.
Right, sanitation.
And he had other people too. Recently, Gunner had an interview with a guy on his show that said that the guy told Gunner that he's seen Chucky O'Brien driving away with Jimmy Hoffa in the car. Okay, let's explain something. Chucky O'Brien was cleared from that and had an alibi. Chucky O'Brien was the first person that they went to. Okay, once again, another fallacy. And also the Detroit Eastern Market. Gunner said that all the businesses from the mob runs were in the Detroit Eastern Market. That's not true. There was only one mob run business in the Detroit Eastern Market. They weren't in that area, Gunner. And then he talks about a tunnel. Talks about a tunnel that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this from Mob Chronicles. Now, listen, people, there might be an echo, but what's happening is YouTube's doing this on purpose now because they don't want, people playing other people's stuff. And I noticed that a lot of people are pulling up other videos of stuff, and you're going to hear something. Hopefully you don't hear it in this. I'm hoping YouTube fixed it by now, but I'm going to play it right now. And you guys, we're going to talk about the tunnel that, let's put it up.
Lindbloom would have you believe that this is proof of his grandfather's connection to the Detroit Partnership, but of course that is just another lie. The facts are as follows. Gunner's grandparents Peter Paul and Grace Leto Tocco lived at 926 Lake Point Street, in a house that was built by her father Peter Leto, who was a successful local builder. His grandmother Grace's parents Peter and Patrina Leto lived at 1017 Balfour. Her father, a builder, built this house in 1927 and moved in after its completion when Grace was about 5 years old. Peter, along with his two brothers, Vito and Gaetano, known as Tom, owned the Leto Building Company. Vito lived at 1025 Balfour in a house he built for his family. And Tom lived at 1029 Balfour in a house he built for his family as well. Grace's brother Nick lived at 920 Trombley Road. And Grace's brother Lawrence lived at 459 Neff Road. Grace's cousin Sam, Vito's son, lived at 978 Westchester Road. And Grace's cousin Anthony, another one of Vito's sons, lived at 1329 Berkshire Road. The real reason that Lindbloom's grandparents lived in Grosse Pointe Park was that his grandmother grew up in that neighborhood. Her father, a successful builder, built her a new home there, and at least 7 other family members lived there. It had zero to do with Jack Tocco or any other Detroit Partnership members. Still not convinced? Then listen to this.
The house that my grandparents lived in, the one that I lived in on Lake Point, Grosse Point, Michigan, was given to them by my great-grandfather for $1. My great-grandfather, Toledo, who was a famous builder, so he built this house as a wedding gift for my grandparents and handed it to them for $1.
Incidentally, I had already concluded the real reasons that Lindbloom's grandparents lived in Grosse Point Park due to the research I had done, and then I came upon his old YouTube posts verifying the same thing. I had already started editing this video, so I included these clips as well. This is probably one of the only times he has actually told the truth in one of his videos. Let's listen to some more ridiculous lies about Gunner's grandparents' home in Grosse Point Park.
My grandparents lived in Grosse Point, Michigan. Today, my old house that I lived in, it's probably 4,000 square foot, nice big colonial.
For the record, Peter Paul Tocco's home at 926 Lake Point Street encompasses 1,914 square feet and has...
So basically the house isn't 4,000 square feet, it's 1,900 square feet. But, you know, it sounds like a mansion. You want to make it sound like a mansion, Gunner, that's up to you.
An estimated market value of $340,000 in 2022.
So he built this house as a wedding gift for my grandparents and handed it to them for $1. That's what a G he was. Now here's the modern day equivalent of about $1 million house. They gave him this big, beautiful house worth about $1 million today for $1. My grandpa had a $2 million house. They had a beautiful home in Grosse Point.
So now it's going from $1 million to $2 million within an interview.
I mean, I guess our house probably would be like modern day equivalent of $3 million or something like that. I mean, it was pretty nice house. It was expensive. Like that house in a regular area would only be like 800 grand, but because it's in Grosse Point, it's like $3 million.
The next part of this video contains some of Lindbloom's most bizarre and completely outrageous lies. Let's listen to a pathological liar extraordinaire at work.
Growing up, we all lived in this little neighborhood in Grosse Point. It was during Prohibition. They stashed a lot of alcohol and booze down in these tunnels. Like the house that I grew up, for instance, in that connected to, it was the cellar. It actually made it on the news 2020 and a special of 2020 where they talked about this, how somebody was taking our house and redesigning the basement and like fixing up the cellar, moved the shelving unit, and bang, found a hidden tunnel. And that tunnel led to another tunnel that led to another tunnel that led to this Alta Road Canal.
The Alta Road Canal is actually called the Fox Creek Canal, and it runs from the mouth of the Detroit River inland along Alta Road in Detroit, as shown in this illustration.
And that canal led down to the Detroit River, where the bootlegger would sneak alcohol in at night, and boats come down the canal, unload it in this warehouse. Some had tunnels connected to each other. A lot of the money came up in Prohibition. They made millions and millions of dollars in Prohibition, and had tunnels that would connect the canal a couple blocks over, and then they bring the high-end liquors in from Canada, or they take boats across in the summer, and then they unload them in these boathouses, which had tunnels going to various houses, including ours. That warehouse connected to several tunnels. That's where all the booze was kept, and it went to our house. I found the tunnels when I was a kid playing in there, so I remember it was spooky, they were dark and creepy, and I like going in them, but they were fun to play in.
Okay, people, he's saying that he found these tunnels. Now listen to what else comes up in this.
Gunner's grandparents' house on Lake Point Street in Grosse Point Park did not have any tunnels, and they couldn't have smuggled liquor during Prohibition through a tunnel if it did. Because any tunnel would have to cross from the city of Detroit under Alta Road into the city of Grosse Point Park, then under Barrington Road, then Pemberton Road, and finally Lake Point Street to his grandparents' home.
Okay, so basically, people, just to cut it down to English, that tunnel had to be 4 blocks long and run from one city into another city. Danny, how much money do you think it would cost to make a 4-block tunnel?
Millions.
And this is supposedly built in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
926 Lake Point. Any tunnel would have to extend below the sanitary and storm sewers, and under all the houses on both sides of all 4 streets. This tunnel never existed, except in Gunner's imagination. During Prohibition, Lindbloom's grandfather lived about 7 miles from Grosse Pointe Park at 2950 Sherman Street in Detroit, as evidenced by the 1930 Detroit census record shown here. He lived there until at least 1946 when he got married. Prohibition ended on December 5, 1933, so the most conclusive evidence obliterating the tunnel lie is that Gunner's grandparents' house on Lake Point wasn't even built until 1953.
Okay, people. So basically, Gunner said these houses were connected by a tunnel through the Prohibition, but the problem was the house that he's talking about was not built until 1953. So that would mean 1929, 30, right around that time during Prohibition, Gunner's off by 23 years. You know, okay, let's go on with more here, people. Private number, I'm not answering that.
How can you smuggle liquor in a tunnel during Prohibition to a house that wasn't built until 20 years after Prohibition ended? And Gunner said he explored and played in these tunnels himself, so he can't blame dead Uncle Pete or dead Grandpa Peter Paul for lying to him this time. Now I want to discuss one last thing about Lindbloom's grandparents' house in Grosse Pointe Park, because this location is an important part of his bullshit story. Since so many reputed Detroit partnership members resided there, he uses this as a way to connect himself and his family to them, by falsely claiming repeatedly and incessantly that they visited his grandfather's house all the time and that they were his Gumbardi, which isn't even a real word in Sicilian or Italian. His grandparents' home here is also where he claims he was schooled in the ways of the Detroit mob by his grandfather and uncles, who weren't actually involved in any way with the Detroit partnership.
I'm going to put myself on pause for a minute.
Him in action, lying, of course.
Living 3 blocks away from another Tocco, who's the boss, and for 65 years. We lived on Lake Point. They lived on Windmill Point, 3-4 blocks away, whatever it was, and for 65 years. My whole life, I lived in that neighborhood. My grandfather was with these guys.
So people, I'm getting phone calls already. I'm getting private phone calls with people making sounds on the other end. So you know I'm doing a good story here, Danny. This is a good story. I wonder if they're going to call you too, Danny.
Ooh, maybe fucking Ghostbusters will call me.
Constantly. They'd come over to the house. My grandpa's best friend was Tony Carrado. So Tony Carrado was either at our house or calling every freaking day. Paulie Carrado, he's on the phone. But they all called and they all came over. And they all hung out. They'd have coffee and drinks. They'd go in the back room and talk Sicilian for an hour, then leave. Or his paisans. He lived in that community, in this tiny little rich community for 60.
It's already been confirmed by Paulie Carrado that none of the Carrados know who this guy is. That's the family. Is that pretty much right, Danny?
100%.
So he keeps. This is the problem with Gunner. He uses names that he shouldn't be using. I mean, these are names of former mobsters. You know, are guys. Why is he using their names? Because nowadays the mob's not like it used to be. If he did this 20 years ago, it would be a different story. On top of that, he lives 40 miles. Currently, he lives about, I believe they said, like, I'm not sure, he doesn't even live near Detroit. Let's put it that way. He lives up near the peninsula, wherever.
5 years with these men. Jack Tocco, Tony Jack, Tony Tocco. These people were coming and going all the time. And I'm just in the other room, like, watching TV, watching a football game. That my grandfather ended up in Grosse Pointe, 3 blocks away from Jack Tocco, and lived there for 65 years until I was about 20 years old. I had just gone to jail. I get busted selling steroids to go to jail for.
So this is him on my last show when I had him on lying to me.
6 months. When I get out, I go to live with my grandma and grandpa Tocco in Grosse Pointe, right? Guess who is over our house all the time? Jack Tocco, Tony Tocco, Joe Tocco, my grandpa's Gumbati. I'm at their house every single weekend. even after I moved out. I go there for dinner, you know. And while we're sitting there at dinner, guess who shows up? Jack Tocco, Tony Carrado. Not in my 20s. Tony Carrado died.
Anthony Carrado, a reputed capo in the Detroit partnership, and nephew to both longtime boss Joe Zerilli and underboss Bill Tocco, died on October 31, 2002, when Gunner was almost 30 years old. This is what happens when liars talk shit about someone they never knew or even met.
When I was about 19 years old. So it started with, I went to jail for like 6 months, and I get out and I go live with my grandma Tocco, Grosse Pointe.
Gunner's grandparents moved from 926 Lake Point in Grosse Pointe Park to 28118 Greencrest, St. Clair Shores, Michigan in 1986. This is an image of the deed transfer listing from the Wayne County Register of Deeds, which shows the property transfer of 926 Lake Point from Peter and Grace Tocco to the new owners. It is dated August 1, 1986. This is an image from the Grosse Pointe Park Assessor's Office, showing that the name of the owners of 926 Lake Point matches the deed transfer info on the first document, proving that the deed transfer record was for the Lake Point house. This is an image from a public records database showing that Lindbloom's grandparents were living at 28118 Greencrest Street in St. Clair Shores in 1986. These last three documents clearly prove that in 1986, Lindbloom's grandparents moved from Grosse Pointe Park to St. Clair Shores, 8 miles north, which happens to be a 16-minute drive from their old neighborhood. Since Lindbloom was born in 1973, he would be about 20 years old in 1993 when he says he moved in with his grandparents in Grosse Pointe Park after he got out of jail. But how is that possible when they hadn't lived in Grosse Pointe since 1986, and by the mid-1980s, incessantly biased coverage by the media that focused on purported Detroit organized crime members, which bordered on harassment, forced many unfairly targeted families to move from the Grosse Pointes, much farther north, into Oakland and Macomb counties, with many settling in Sterling Heights and Clinton Township. Lindbloom repeatedly claims that his grandparents lived in Grosse Pointe for 65 years, when in fact it was about 33 years, and that all the hierarchy of the Detroit partnership lived in the neighborhood, so they were hanging out at his grandparents' house all the time. And this is when and where he claims he became involved with certain reputed members of the Detroit partnership. But his grandparents and most of the top Detroit guys had moved out of Grosse Pointe by the time he was an adult. So it is just more lie. A quick note, since we mentioned in our last video on May 8th that we would discuss Lindbloom's Grosse Pointe lies in our next video, he was forced to fess up to the fact that his grandparents didn't actually live in Grosse Pointe Park when he got out of jail in 1993. I included the clip here.
So I'm living with my grandpa Tocco. Now, at this point, they're not living in Grosse Pointe proper. They moved to St. Clair Shores a few years before. So before the freaking dweebs say, hey, they was on Greencrest, and this time you said they're Grosse Pointe. It was still only like, 6-7 miles north of where they lived for like 40 years in Grosse Pointe. But the family still all lived there.
So we actually forced him to tell the truth. For once. Because he knows we are watching and will call him out on his bullshit. What an ass clown.
Okay, people. Okay. And you know something? It doesn't take me, I don't feel good about showing that, Danny. Do you feel good about showing that?
No, but if you put yourself out there and you profess certain things and things don't add up to what you're saying, then what is the conclusion?
And if you guys remember when Scott Bernstein was on here last time, instead of Gunner saying, okay, I fess up, he doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down and continued the lie. So basically, the main reason that this show is going after him is because he was calling us a liar. And just so you know, that's Mob Chronicles, that great information from. Mob Chronicles has great stuff. Please go to their site, sub to it. I mean, they put up really good stuff. And I don't want you to think that I'm intelligent enough to put something like that together. Danny, are you intelligent enough to do a video that nice?
Not even close.
So let's give Mob Chronicles their due. Mob Chronicles, we use that. under the Fair Use Act, but I'm sure you don't mind us using it. We used your stuff once before. Great reporting. And Gunner's going to come on, and now he's going to probably attack the Carrado family. I could see that coming. Can you see that coming, Danny?
Well, yeah, like Paul said, he can do whatever he fucking wants. The fact of the matter is that that's what happens when somebody gets caught. The first thing they do is start the threatening.
And then he said he remembered a taco named Tocco and named Tony Tocco that bit chickens' heads off and stuff. That was the wrong Tony Tocco. That was not Tony Tocco that he was trying to say. So if you sit back and you watch his show, people, how far does this go? You know, and this is why I'm going to call Larry Mazza out. Danny, I think we should call Larry Mazza out, don't you?
Yeah, start it.
Because Larry Mazza goes on his show for all 20 viewers. He knows people are reaching out to Larry Mazza and they're saying to Larry Mazza that this guy's full of shit. And for some reason, Larry Mazza's doubling and tripling down. Does this make sense?
Well, listen, birds of a feather flock together. So whatever Larry Mazza's relationship is with Gunner, that's their business. But you got to call a spade a spade. If you don't, you're just as bad as him.
And I talked to people now that said they reached out to Mazza and said to him, "What are you doing, dude?" I mean, so, you know, Mazza is a rat. There's no doubt about that. He put people away in prison, but he is a successful rat. He actually has something good going on in California, and he has a show that's coming on a regular basis, but he's doubling down on Gunner. It just, let me read some of these now. People, I hope that you liked that little report. We got a lot more on it, but we're not going to get, and there's a lot of stuff that people don't understand that we can't really start talking about. The Tocco name's very complex. Jack Alone was at that time, was like his underboss, but now they say Jack Alone runs the family. Who knows? You know, it's like we said, the mob's not like it used to be. There are thousands of people who are intrigued by the mob until they investigate these people and see they are full of shit. Danny, take that one over.
Well, look, you either are or you're not. And if you come on a platform and you try to blow yourself up more than what you are, you know, my whole theory, if it don't make sense, it ain't true. And that's exactly how I feel about Gunner. It don't make sense. So, you know, I'm sure there's parts of whatever he says are probably factual, but I think 90% of his story is bullshit, and it is what it is.
And now, Gunner, you're going to be called out on it because you called this show liars. So if you have your issues with Scott and stuff like that, that's one thing. But once you come after this show and start saying that we don't know what we're talking about, we're putting liars on here and stuff, we have to prove ourselves right. Okay. Gunner is just as bad as Pusa, saying he was on Sonny Francie's knee eating. Do you know anything about what Gunsmoke saying there?
I don't know.
Gunner,
I guess he's talking about pizza.
Well, goes to show you, if you're lying, there's going to be someone out there to call you on your shit. You know something, people? On YouTube, there's always people to call you out on your shit. You know, I've been doing this for a year. They call me out on stuff that ain't bullshit. So if they find something to jump on you for, that's what they're going to do. They're going to jump on you. And Danny, now you have your sites online and stuff. Does anybody ever call you out and say you're full of shit?
Of course.
Okay. And
of course.
Are you able to prove them wrong?
Well, listen, you can only prove what you have, and I think, you know, documents are proof. People might argue that fact, but, you know, mostly family members are the ones that cry out foul. You know what I'm saying? But there's so many different stories that go with so many different people. Who's to know what's true and what's not? But when you put yourself out there and say certain things that can be proven true or false, and you happen to be a liar, you're going to get called out on it.
And this is the problem right now. We have the Toccos and the Giacalone family that were very powerful officers at one time. I mean,
but you got to understand, there's a lot of Toccos from Detroit.
Yes,
it's a huge name.
And a matter of fact, they come from a part of Italy where I believe the town's named after Tocco. So I may be wrong, but I believe that's what I heard. There's a lot of them. So it's easy to be related to the Toccos. That doesn't make you a gangster. Danny, you've been in the streets. You know lots of gangsters. How many family members do you think they had that weren't related to the mob?
Oh, a lot. Just because, you have a popular name, that ends in a vowel, that it's in the newspaper all the time, that doesn't mean you're related.
Okay. Let's see. Well, people, one thing we've learned, another statement made by Gunner, is that there's no money in the mafia genre, but yet he's talking about mafia. He's selling mafia products. Does that make any sense, Danny?
Hey, listen, to each their own. He's got a clothing line that is its name is after, synonymous to mafia. So whatever he wants to do, he does. You know what I'm saying? But if he's lying, he needs to be called out on it like he is.
So, Pietro Bavacqua, someone familiar with Detroit, Michigan is wrecking him right now. I guarantee you this guy will not be going to the 2022 Festa Italiana this year. And listen, it's not just one person wrecking him from Detroit. It's some families that used to be very powerful. And now you still got active members who are furious. You have people. Now listen, let's remember, Paulie Carrado came forward. This guy was a captain, people. He was a capo. So it's not like this is some little guy coming forward. I mean, and he doesn't want to show his face. Do you get the feeling that he wants to come out here and give publicity and show who he is and show up on YouTube, Danny?
No, listen, I spoke to him, and you can believe me. You don't have to believe me. I really don't give a fuck. Him and I spent 25 minutes on the phone, which means nothing. But I believe he's telling the truth. And he was shelved. He's no longer active. He never ratted. And all he wanted me to convey is he never met Gunner. He don't know Gunner. And Gunner shouldn't put his name in his mouth. That's it. That's
Or
all.
any of the Carrados.
Any of them.
Because, and the Carrado family is like, it was a big family involved with organized crime for many decades. And, they owned some of the, let's put it this way, in the 80s, if you own sanitation companies, Danny, the odds are that.
Yeah, his father had, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. They had a seat on the council, actually. Okay, well, Carmine, just because your last name is Gambino, it doesn't mean you're in the mafia. Exactly.
Right.
And let's face it, people. There's a lot of Gambinos in Brooklyn. Miss Can't Be Wrong, thank you once again. I appreciate that. And if you do want to donate to the show, you can donate to the show. We appreciate that too.
If you don't want to donate, please hit the like button.
Yes, please hit the like button. Well, crap, now I've received live notification. I don't know what's up with the live notification. Other shows are going through the same thing. YouTube, I think, is so overwhelmed that their systems aren't keeping up. And it kind of sucks that notification goes out 20 minutes, 30 minutes after the show starts. And I apologize for that. Okay. Oh, listen to this. Let's see. Danny wouldn't bust a grape. All talk. Skunk Hunter.
Yeah.
42.
Yeah.
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 See, it's guys like this, but Skunk Hunter, let me ask you a question. would you show your face and come up here and talk to us? No, you wouldn't, because you know why? You are a computer tough guy. That's what you are. I never seen your name in here before, so you're probably one of those scumbags from the other side. So let's just say that. Okay, looking for the truth, Natalie. That Gambino name is not like the Smith name. If you got the Gambino name in New York, I think it's safe to say they are related to Carlo Gambino in some way. We're not saying that. We said that just because you're related to Carlo Gambino doesn't mean that you're part of the family. You know, and that's what goes on. People all have these names. I'll give you an example. My sister is married to an Italian. She lives in New York, and she lives near the city. And her husband has a major mafia name, but he's not part of the mob. Oh, Don Vito, same thing. Just got here. I'm sorry about that, Don Vito, with the notification. It's YouTube, Don. It's YouTube. And I hope you go back and watch the stuff that we put up on Gunner and Paulie Carrado coming forward and basically saying that he knows nothing about who Gunner is. Never met him, like Gunner says. He's never met any of the Carrados. Gunner has never met any of the Carrado family. And they're a major player back in the day. Please hit the like button. My partner in crime, Miss Can't Be Wrong, drops cash. I believe that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Lee, the other side. You were the king of the other side. Are you kidding me? Listen, I have people attack me all the time now because they don't like, they're the ones that create sides, people. I try to come on this, I try to be like Switzerland, but it's hard to be like Switzerland because I'm judged by whose shows I go on. But I like to go on shows that are kind of informative. They're kind of exciting. They have people in the chat rooms. I don't like going on these little tiny shows where their show is one mission, attacking one person. Let's face it. And I don't like to go on shows because I went through this that are controlled by the trolls. Okay. Okay, let's see. It's disgusting that David Cameron duplicates BS artists in here. I don't know what to say to you about that. Yes, I did. I've been getting calls from since this show started and they seen who was up. I wonder who could be calling me like that. Why is it when I go after certain people, Danny, they like to call me on my number, but they won't answer on the other end and say who they are?
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Kind of cowardly, ain't it?
I believe so.
Oh, are you afraid Gunner is going to come after you or Danny Lee?
Why would I be afraid?
Yeah, why? Why? It's maybe it wouldn't be healthy for him. Hey, listen, I'm an older guy. Of course I can't jump and get into a fight with Gunner. He would knock me out. It's obvious Gunner can knock me out. As for Danny, I don't know. Okay, you can knock me out. But I wouldn't let him get near me. There's other way to deal with people that come near you. But Gunner's not like that. Gunner's not stupid like that. I'm just doing an honest show. If Gunner wants to come after us, Danny, at least we're putting the facts up. Would you say that pretty much, Danny?
Absolutely. He don't like what's said. That's his problem.
And he's going to say stuff about us.
Let him say whatever he wants.
Yeah. People do it all the time. People say what they want. That's why, John Wolf's not here no more because he puts up stupid stuff, lies. Oh, both hello from Detroit, Lee and Danny. Well, Bofa, how you doing, my man? Gunner is a very big dude. Did you see pictures of him before he went to prison? He wasn't a very big dude.
But what does that mean, though? Realistically, what does that mean?
He's big. Has anybody ever seen him fight?
Doesn't even matter if he can fight or not.
Yeah, it doesn't. How many tough guys have you met in the street, Danny, that were really, really good with their hands, but they wound up in a dirt hole?
Well, let's just say that, normally the loudest one in the crowd is the biggest pussy in the crowd. So
And guys like Wild Bill was a very tough guy, wasn't he?
Yep.
And what happened to him?
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
Just because somebody's big, 30-inch arms, 80-inch arms, what does that have to do with anything?
A lot of these guys can handle their hands in the street, but that doesn't mean anything, people. We should know this. Casso wasn't a tough guy, but he usually won because he had people do his work or he took somebody out when they weren't looking. Okay. Fugazi, you okay, David? You're in Britain. Well, hello to Britain if you're here. We appreciate it. Bill Press says, I'm glad you guys are back, Danny. Stay well.
Thanks.
And we're glad to be back. So, Danny, are you looking forward to going back to work tomorrow?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm not interested in paying these gas prices, but I'm ready to go back to work.
How much are you paying for gas right now? In
$4.70.
Well, look who's here. The guy that did that great work, Mob Chronicles. Mob Chronicles, we just want to let you know that we put your stuff up. It was very good, very informative. I hope you don't mind. And we did tell people to sub to your show, and we called your show out. And I just want to let you know that. Very good stuff, though. The stuff you guys put up, I don't know who's behind you guys, but you're putting up good quality stuff that most people don't make stuff that good of quality on here. Well, Mob Chronicles says Bofa is not Mobster Chronicles. Okay. So, but Bofa said he was at Mobster Chronicles. Just so you know that, Mob Chronicles. Gunner has money to drive all around Michigan, laugh out loud, Michael Hensley. Well, you know something, Gunner likes, you can say what you want about Gunner, but he is an outdoorsman. You know, maybe he should be doing videos and selling products about outdoors. He's a hell of an outdoorsman. Sometimes people just are in a field that maybe they shouldn't be in. Look at this. Very quiet. Are you saying, Carmen, are you saying Tommy Karate couldn't fight? Was that the word on the street that Tommy Karate couldn't fight?
Listen, Tommy Karate could fight.
The guy was
when he was younger. When he was younger, it's a different story. But in his adolescence, his early 20s, the guy was a wrecking machine. You can ask anybody that.
He went to the Orient and studied martial arts. He was a black belt in more than one style. How could you make a statement like, I'm sorry, Carmine. It's not true. He was a very dangerous man with his hands. A matter of fact, Jimmy Klander tells a story where Tommy Karate used to fuck around with him and kick at his face and like stop the kick before it got to his face. The guy was kind of a bully. He liked to use his hands. So, Carmine, I don't know what you mean by that. Stop giving half. Okay, listen. No one's given. Let's not call them names. Okay, it's $4.70 a gallon. Somewhere ought to go to Washington and throw. Well, listen, people. Danny, how much is a gallon of gas last time you went out?
Today it was $4.70. So it went down 5 cents.
And it was $4.40 here. It was $3.89 last week. And gas in Texas is going up almost 60 cents in a couple of days. So this is only the beginning. They're purposely driving the gas prices up. Okay. I did not mind at all, Lee. I hope you don't mind. I use clips of yours. No, anytime. Anytime. But try to get my good side. That means I would have to do my show and turn around and do it from the back end. But anyway, appreciate the shout out. A new video about Gunner is coming out in mid-June. And, you know, Mobster Chronicles, good stuff. This is how we're supposed to work together. Would you say, Danny, it's good when shows can collaborate like this and work together?
Absolutely. It goes to each other's, philosophies and ideologies about certain mob people and situations. So it's good to work hand in hand. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, I enjoy reading comments you put on MobTube, buddy. I'm buzzing today, buddy. Wheels. Oh, yes. They're through. Well, World Cup's here, people. Everybody follows the World Cup except the United States. Okay. Gunner claims he knocked out countless people and hasn't ever lost a fight. When people talk, okay, Danny, Gunner was in prison.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this, all right? I don't care if he beat up King Kong. He ain't going to put his hands on me. He's not going to put his hands on me. You take that for whatever you want to take it as. And it is, I'm not going to go any further than that. Nobody's going to put their fucking hands on me, period.
And if you spent 13 years in prison, what's the odds?
I don't care if he spent 50 years in prison.
No, I want to ask you something else, Danny, because we had this conversation. If you spent 13 years in prison and you were out there swinging, what's the odds that you're undefeated?
I don't know. Who the fuck knows? He can, you know, I don't know. But I'm just telling you, nobody's going to put their hands on me.
Chris, $5.69 there. In California, it's over $7. We have 219 people in here right now. Thank you so much. Both of you said you were part of the Mobster Chronicles on Lucky Gun Show. Well, both if you said that, you've just been shot
If you
down.
said it, you're a liar because you're not. The guy just said you weren't. So.
Yes. Another private number call. If Gunner was honest, he wouldn't have anything to worry. Exactly, people. That's it. When you come on here, be honest. Let me tell you something. When Danny started on here, the first thing that people did, right away, they wanted to see if Danny was telling the truth and stuff, and people looking. I've never had anybody come to me and one time say that Danny wasn't. Angel Gotti actually apologized to Danny because she made a statement, and then she followed up on it and asked a couple people, and she apologized. Because
listen, I'm not looking for accolades. I'm not looking for people to agree or disagree with me. I don't care if you believe me, you don't believe me. I really don't give a shit. I came on here to speak my mind about people that inform on other people. And, you know, it is what it is. So anybody that has something derogatory to say about me, they're more than welcome to say it. But the fact of the matter is that I'm not a Gunner Lindbloom. I'm not a fucking rat. And I'm not somebody that pretends to be somebody he's not. So with that being said, you could do anybody. You just could do whatever you want.
And you have many friends online. In your shows that, you know, and I'm lucky to have met you. And I say that over and over again. DP, Gunner suggests that outdoorsmen and hunters should wear his leather coat while out hunting. Are you serious? So have you ever seen Gunner's leather coat he sells?
No idea.
So he's trying to say that it should be worn while hunting. Okay, John, those are different. Today we get scholarships. Okay, well, I'm sorry. I always was intrigued by your petrol prices being so low compared to Europe. But this now shows what a huge increase you are suffering. Yes, but the difference is, David, in Europe, your cars are all small. In a lot of parts of Europe, you can't even drive through some. In Italy, you can't drive around buildings unless you got a small car. Even the trucks are small. You know, America likes everything big. That's just the way it is in America. Eating a restaurant in Italy and eating a restaurant in America, who's going to give you a bigger serving? Okay, let's see. What do you all think of Jimmy Calandra having a snitch Frank Calabrese on his show, who told on his own dad he's praising the guy too?
Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah, and that's just it, people. Listen, Danny believes what he believes. I believe what I believe. I really don't believe in snitches. I dealt with one, Gene Barillo. I don't anymore. Because once you get to learn about these guys and what they do and who they are, they're all basically the same. That's what it comes down to. Gunner says that he had a run-in with Bigfoot when hunting.
He probably beat him up.
Yeah, well, actually, I seen that video. He was trying to show something in the bushes moving, Danny. And, you know, code is the street. Danny is a good man and a good father.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, pal.
Stop interrupting the leash show, Gunner, with crank calls. Miami Mike, I think you have something to do with it. So let me just turn this phone off. You know, Danny, they think they bother me with this. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yes, good point. Yes, bigger cars by far over the pond. That's like in this country, everybody nowadays has it. How do you have a big screen TV, Danny? Oh, you don't watch TV, do you?
My son has a 55-inch, I think.
But he gets all the channels, right?
Well, yeah, I get all the bills.
Okay, Lee, that's a contradictory. I'm against snitches, but had to learn from Gene. That sounds like a cop for flip-flopping. Richard, we all make mistakes. Let me explain something. When I came into this, I didn't know much about anything. The more you learn every day, this is a learning experience. People can say what they want about me. But you know, the fact of the matter is, go to all these channels here and see who really goes after all the rats. And I don't hide my face. I am who I say I am. Okay, if Gunner wasn't somewhat involved with the mafia, how did he do 12 years in jail for selling drugs? Don't they need approval in Detroit Mafia to sell drugs? Dude, don't you know shit about Detroit? Danny, take this, please.
Listen, I don't know what Gunner did or didn't do, whether he went to prison for drug dealing, armed robbery, selling steroids, whatever the fuck it was. And, you know, a lot of people that say, oh, you can't sell drugs because you're in the mafia, that's a fallacy. I don't know what Gunner did. So if he sold drugs, he could do whatever he wants. You know what I'm saying? I know he was involved in steroids. I know there was an armed robbery possibly he was involved with, but that's all I know.
And people, you know how much crimes in Detroit that the mafia doesn't control? You can't, to this day. It's not like New York. It's not like Brooklyn. It's not like Queens. We're talking Detroit here, people. Two brothers from Gravesend, Ken and Rob, unbelievable baseball player. I think they are related to you, Danny.
No comment.
No comment. You didn't get a no on that, Donnie Ragu. Gunner was not in the Detroit mob. Damn, people. This can't be wrong. You know how to say it better. He did go to jail for armed robbery. Yes. Listen, he went, who knows? He did time in prison. You can't take that away from him. Maybe he wants us to take it away from him. Doing 13, you know, being in prison for a long time is not nothing to brag about. Right, Danny?
It's not. Doesn't make you a tough guy either.
Yeah. There's people in prison that aren't tough. Lots of them. Great questions coming in now, people. Oh, Gunner is the captain of the White Teal family. Here comes the good remarks, people. Fun, throw some. We gotta get Danny to laugh. Throw some good remarks in here. Jane Creek. I really couldn't care about the government cooperators one way or another. I don't like Sammy Buguano because he's a mass murderer, not because he violated omerta. But Jane, once again, you have the right to believe what you want. We all have our beliefs here, and we have to respect each other's beliefs. That's what it comes down to. Lucky Luciano, absolutely. Is this the real Lucky Luciano? Many years ago, a Detroit cop said, probably in the mid-90s, that the Detroit Mafia became too weak to any longer extort black drug dealers. I can believe that. Can't you, Danny?
Possibly, absolutely.
I mean, you're talking back in the 90s when you had black drug gangs out there. That the murder rate was the highest it was always between Detroit and Gary, Indiana. Those were, at that time in the 90s, those were the two murder capitals, and they're not far from each other. And they're both places I have no desire to live. Does prison make you cool, Scott? No, it doesn't. And prison definitely doesn't make anybody cool. Okay, just because he did time for drug dealing, it doesn't mean that he was in the mob. I know loads of drug dealers doing time, but that wasn't involved in the mob. That's a crazy comment. Exactly. Lee, do you remember when you said Gunner was part of the Toccos family? Yeah, because Gunner came to me and told me he was. You take a man at his word. But once you prove him wrong, Danny, do you judge a man as a liar before you find out about him?
Listen, I don't judge anybody until they obviously make me not believe what they say. And obviously, everybody starts out at 100%. But if your stories dwindle in time and they don't make sense, then you got to be called out on what you are. I mean, it's not personal. It is what it is.
Exactly. And, you know, if you judge people when they come to you and say, oh, you're a liar right off the bat. Hey, listen, we have a lot of liars on MobTube. We have a lot of people that say they're things they're not. They claim all sorts of crazy stuff, people. We know this. We see it every day here. Danny, when you decided to come on to MobTube, did you think it was going to be like this? With the stuff
I to tell you the truth, I knew nothing about MobTube or I used to watch videos, just random videos on YouTube. I knew nothing about what you guys did or do until you asked me to come on. I knew nothing about it. And I didn't want to come on initially. Yeah. I said, what am I, a fucking moron? And but I see people that come on here that talk about their life of crime and how they became rats, and then they justify, which there's no justification in my opinion. You can disagree with me, it doesn't matter, but they would try to justify why they became rats. And that's what bothered me.
And if you guys realize it, it's always the rats that tell you these great stories about all they did. Danny, isn't it amazing how they build even Sammy Gravano, who definitely has stories.
Well, listen,
but if you listen to
whether it's Sammy Gravano, Mike the Fag Franzese, or any of them, everybody's got a story. And every story is better than the last story. And like anybody else, I got stories too. I don't put my stories out here. You know what I'm saying? And not because I don't want to, because they're my stories. You know what I mean? Yeah, I might throw one or two, but let me tell you something. You know what I mean? Sammy the Bull's probably got stories for 100 years, but you got to consider him. He's nothing but a liar and a rat. And I'm not saying that his stories are far-fetched or totally lies, but he embellishes. I don't like anybody that sits on a fucking platform and justifies what they did because of somebody else. So I don't watch Sammy Gravano. I don't know. I nothing. I don't watch not one program that he puts out, whatever, one video, Michael Franzese either, and none of the other ones. I have no desire, because I'll tell you why I have no desire. Because if you watch a guy that comes on YouTube or any other platform that sat down with the government and turned informant, to me, I got nothing in common with them. And I don't want to hear what they got to say, period. And that's just me. I'm not saying you guys have to do that. You guys do what you want. That's something that I'm not interested in doing.
And what it comes down to, people, a lot of times people rat for certain reasons, but they don't come on these platforms and make it.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. And I'm going to use this person as an example, all right? And you can attack me all you want. And I'm not going to use his name, and I'm not going to say nothing else about him. But I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm friends with a guy that's a rat, whether you believe it or not, all right? But let me tell you something about him. He did it. He moved on with his life. Never came on a platform to spew what he did or what he didn't do, all right? He's not in the witness protection program, okay? He lives his life. He goes to work every day, okay? And he doesn't need to come on a public platform or a video to say why or what he did. And he's the first person, and God strike me dead if I'm lying, okay? They're all hypocritical, the ones that are on here. And that's what he tells me. Okay. And let me tell you something. All right. I'll go even one further. He's absolutely ashamed of what he did. That's why he doesn't come on a program to say what he wants to say, because there's nothing else to say. He put very good people away for many, many years. Okay. And he has to live with that. Just like I have to live with what I did in my life to somebody that was innocent. And I live with that every day. So in comparison, we're pretty much the same, with the exception of this. He doesn't go out there and make a mockery and say whatever he wants to, and he's got millions of stories. And he doesn't come on this program to say, yeah, I did this, I did that, I want to do this, he doesn't do none of that. He lives a simple life, goes to work, drinks a beer, watches a ball game. That's his life. Now you tell me, okay, any one of yous, you tell me why he isn't on here doing like 95% of the other ones.
And let me ask you a question. Would people recognize him if he did come on here?
Absolutely. And listen, I'm going to tell you another thing. I don't give a fuck what none of you say. Him and I, and if he was on here and I was talking like this, I don't like what he did, and we talk about it all the time. You know, what he did, why he did it. He doesn't blame anybody. He blames himself. He doesn't say, Johnny Monkey Foot down the block made me do it. He doesn't say, because the guy bumped into me in the grocery store, that's why I did it. He did it because he was a coward, and he did it, and he admits that. That's a man. He doesn't blame the guy in the social club. He doesn't blame his father for beating him. He doesn't blame the guy down the block that he owed $40,000 to. He blames himself. So how do you knock a guy? What are you going to say to a guy like that? You got to respect that. But you can't respect the guy that comes out here and blames everything from the fucking sun to the dog digging a hole in the backyard on why they did what they did. And that's all I got to say about it.
So why don't you tell us how you really feel?
That's how I really feel.
Okay, let's see what. Okay, let's see. Coded Street. My brother has been down 27 years, sentenced 3 life, 45 years. I can never make an excuse taking another man from his family. Danny is right. Lee, we all have it wrong sometimes. Respect is always first. Yeah, you know, and that's a big thing, people. When you come on here, are you telling the truth about your story? We all know that John A. Light makes up stories. It's so obvious that he makes up stories. I mean, look at the stories he makes up. He lives off one family. Sammy Gavano, does he ever admit what he did was wrong? He makes excuses for what he did. Michael Franzese won't even admit what he did. And documentation's everywhere on Michael Franzese. He was one of the biggest rats in the histories of rats. Tommy Stiggs, yes, Danny, he blames no one and he owns what he did.
Absolutely.
And that's what it. You got to own what you did, people. You know, you're respected more if you say, look, I ratted and, you know, I'm ashamed of myself. But everybody I've met on these platforms always has a reason why they ratted. Instead of just coming out and say, I ratted because I didn't want to go to prison. That's what it comes down to. Would you say that's right, Danny? Or
listen, my whole theory on why people become informants is self-serving. My problem is when they blame or they use an excuse instead of owning what they did. Sammy the Bull, Michael Franzese, any of them. They always have an John Panisi, Ghost came down and struck him in his ass and fucked him in his ass. I mean, they all have a fucking reason. And there ain't no reason because they don't want to own what they did. So they blame.
Okay, Gunner claims he is superior to other MobTube guys because he is 12 years without ratting, but he only has 20 people watching his lives. Right now, we have 227 people in here. We've been over 200 for almost an hour now. See, Gunner? It doesn't matter. You got to put up good quality and people have to believe you. And then you have a larger show. Okay, Nightmare, Lee Cole, who are we talking about? I just got here. I wanted to show you some love, support for your channels. Stay up, fellas. Nightmare, thank you very much. Just play it back. You'll see what we who we were talking about and why I'm getting a bunch of calls now from freaks. You know something? But it's only when I attack Gunner, or not attack, I'm sorry, when I talk about Gunner or Stacks. Those two shows are the people that call the most. I could talk about, say, if I talk about Mob Rats, nobody calls me. But Danny, it seems like it's the sleaziest of the guys. Where people
because listen, these guys, whoever they are, you know, I don't know, you know, it's mind-boggling, you know, these people that always have something to say, but yet done nothing. So,
yep. Dino Calabro was a dangerous killer and he ratted. Do you know who he's talking about, Danny?
Yeah, I know who he's talking about. You know, listen, to each their own. You know, I'm not going to argue that fact, but everybody has an opinion. I have an opinion what sneakers I'm going to wear today. You know, fuck Dino Calabro and anybody else that ratted. They can all go suck a banana for all I care.
Ryan Lacey wants to know, Trio, tell us how you really feel.
Hey, what's
Isn't
up,
that one of your buddies?
Yeah.
Okay. Why can't people say the reason they ratted? We're literally telling you the story why they did it. I'm confused. Don't you want to hear the whole story? I'm confused. Some people want to know the reason.
Listen. I mean, I can't make it any clearer. If you're a rat, what legitimacy do you have? Realistically, what legitimacy do you have? You're number one. You're only going to say what you want to say to keep yourself out of jail or out of whatever. All right. I don't give a fuck how many stories you have. How do I know your stories are real? How do I know you're not full of shit? I'm not going to sort that out. If you're a rat, you're garbage. Period. Now, listen, that's my opinion. You know what I'm saying? You like people that rat, you find them interesting, you find them entertaining, then you go to their channel and you support them. It's simple. I don't choose to do that, okay? And I'll never do that. So to each their own. But let me just point one out. If they're lying about that, they're going to lie about other things. And they'll embellish to make their self look better than what they really are. So you take it for what it's worth. And if you like rats, then you hang out with rats.
Okay, Jane Creek, criminal cooperates to stay out of prison, sometimes to save their lives, like the case of Fat Pete Chiodo.
Fat boy, yeah.
And what did he do? What's he?
He was a rat. He became a rat. He became an informant.
That said, society in a whole supports anything that gets dangerous criminals off the street.
You know, it's amazing to me, all right? And maybe I'm a moron or an idiot, but it's amazing to me. You can go out on the street for 20 years and be a successful criminal, right? Make a ton of money, buy a beautiful house, drive a nice automobile. As soon as you get fucking hit, the first thing you want to do, well, wait a minute. I don't want to give up this house. I don't want to give up this car. I don't want to give up this pretty female. I don't want to give up my kids.
I'll be right back, Danny.
You shouldn't be out there playing Johnny Tough Guy. Period. You understand what I'm saying? So now you want to make a deal with the government to prohibit you from losing your family, right? So then you shouldn't be out on the street doing bad things. So if you are caught, you should take your responsibilities with you, go to jail, and do your fucking time. It's that simple. If you don't agree with me, that's fine also. You know what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is, that's what they do. I don't know where Lee went, but
I'll be right back, Dan. I'm just talking on the phone to someone real quick.
yeah. So, listen, I'm not telling you what I'm saying is right. This is my perspective, and I'll live by that perspective until I die. I didn't rat. You know what I'm saying? There was 3 defendants in my case. I didn't rat. And I went away 15 to life, my sentence. How come I didn't rat? Oh, now you're going to say, well, maybe you had nothing to rat about. How would you know if I did or if I didn't? You don't. So you can't make a comment like that. Only I can. So it doesn't matter what you say. If you're out there doing bad things and you get hit with a 50-year sentence, whose fault is that? The guy next to you that you're going to rat on? You people, some of you are delusional to the facts, but it is what it is. You guys can believe whoever you want. Jimmy Calandra, Johnny Monkey Pole, Larry the Fag, Mazda that got fucked in the ass. You can believe whoever the fuck you want to believe. And it's that simple.
Yeah, Dino took out Wild Bill, yet became a rat. Danny is right. All they have is their excuses, but there's no excuse to shit on your friends. And a lot of these guys shit on their friends, whether they want to admit it or not.
And let me just say something. And I don't want to keep going on because I sound like a mumbling idiot. Would you tell on your mother, your father? I mean, realistically, if you got caught doing something and you knew your father did something, would you rat on your fucking father? These rats would rat on their fucking father.
Frankie
Why
Pasqua.
would you rat on your best friend if you're doing things together and you're like this? You're gonna rat on your friend. So you'd rat on a lizard in the backyard. These are rats. These are all fucking rats.
Surely there's a little room for doubt about why criminals snitch. Surely there's a little room of well, listen, everybody, you're entitled to your opinions. That's the great thing about being on YouTube. Everybody has different opinions. You think that I agree with everything Danny says? No. Does Danny agree with me? Hell no. It wouldn't be normal if we agreed. OC can't wait, bro. Okay. Well, I understand this song YouTube takes a little seriously and mute that phone dingling every 5 minutes. So unprofessional. Then AJ, you don't have to listen. You can go. Just like that. Right, people? If I'm pissing AJ off, does he have to hang around? It's a bad life. Those of us who dabbled in it know full well how vicious it is, but if you're in it, and you take your medicine when pinched.
I mean, it's simple. I don't,
Okay, let's see. Lee, you would never talk that way to Mazda's face. Stop it already.
Please, listen. Why wouldn't you talk to somebody like that to their face? I would.
Yep.
I would. You think I'm afraid to say what I want to say to anybody? I'm no fucking killer. I'm no tough guy. But you're not going to tell me I'm afraid to say something to somebody's face. If that's the way you think, then you're a bitch. You know what I'm saying? So if you got somebody that you know that wants to come to me, I'll tell them to their face. You know Mazza? Tell him to come see me. I'll tell him to his face. What do you think? I'm afraid? You're a clown. Go fucking rake a yard somewhere, you fucking moron. Get the fuck out of here.
Go rake the yard. Hey, that's you just created another T-shirt, Danny. Go
These
rake
fucking
the yard,
guys.
you fucking
Go
moron.
fucking read a comic book, you moron.
I like what Dave has to say here. I watched Mazza yesterday and did enjoy his show 100% against Super Rats, though. Promote lies and corruption. And that's the thing. There are a few rats that are very entertaining, but some people believe so much against it that they wouldn't. Talking about self-promoter, let's all say hi to Jeff Nadeau. I did a video yesterday on Dino Calabro. Okay, maybe. Don't you love that self-promotion, Danny? Okay, we'll be on about 11 more minutes, people. People who don't use their real name shouldn't be able to talk shit. Yes. And you know something, Ryan? And this is one of the problems on YouTube. The toughest people on YouTube are the ones that don't show their face. The ones that come on here and hide their face. They tell you they're gangsters. They tell you they're from Brooklyn. Or they tell you that they're part of a motorcycle gang, but they don't show their face. Danny, are you suspicious of anybody that comes on here and talks a lot of shit but won't show what they look like?
Why do they come on if they're not going to show their face? So logically thinking, your first impression is they're hiding something. Isn't that what everybody's logical thought would be? Whether they're hiding something or not, why wouldn't you show your face? Well, then you shouldn't be on YouTube.
And 90% of the time, they won't show their face, people. 90, maybe 95% of the time. They won't show their face because they don't want someone to see them on here. Somebody that they did something bad to, or they got arrested, or they did something bad, real bad to children, or, you know, they don't have the balls to show their face. So those people are meaningless. We just went through that with two people on here. One claimed he was a gangster from Brooklyn, and the other guy claimed that he was a motorcyclist from Chicago. But why would people take them serious when they don't show their fucking face? And now they're not here. They're around and they'll come back a little bit. They are trolls. That's what they are. If you don't show your face on here, you're a troll. Okay. Gunner and plenty others show face and they are frauds. Yes. I'll tell you what, when you show your face and you're a fraud, that really tells you everything about the person. When do you say that, Danny? If they show their face and they know they're lying,
then they got a psychological problem.
That's when it becomes a mental issue. That's what now we're talking mental. Christopher says they have many excuses why they snitched, zero reasons. Well said. Did Peter go to jail for murder and torture? I don't know who you're talking about there.
Who, Peter, Paul, and Mary?
Keyboard tough guy, MRE shows his face now because he got exposed. Yeah, would he be showing his face otherwise? No. Was he hiding his face because he was going after rats? No. We know that. Okay. And you know, it's not me attacking him. It's just facts, people. You know, and this is what I'm talking about. We should learn a lesson from this. Why do people hide their faces? There's a reason they're hiding their face. So if you guys jump on these channels, even Tony in a tent has more balls than guys like Chicago and Vinny Green that don't show their face. Because those guys aren't who they say they are, people. They're not who they say they are. They're not even close to who they say they are. Mark my word. And if you're stupid enough to go in and support those channels that don't show who they are, you're just easy to con and to hustle. You are a mark. Being a rat is mainstream. Everyone is starting to get more comfortable accepting the people who rat and cooperate with law enforcement. Welcome to our new society. Has anybody going on Prime or Netflix and see the crap in the movies they play now? It's awful. It's absolutely awful, these movies they have. And they all got all sorts of crap like that in it. There are a few of us on here, too sadly, with insulting names and comments, but fair play at Legal Tolerant Channel. Yeah, we try to be. We're not going to throw you out unless you are totally an asshole. Our monitors in here, they do a great job and they don't block nobody for no reason. Detroit was a big area for bodybuilding and juice. I don't Netflix. Oh, gosh. What does Netflix have on it? The only reason I would watch Netflix would be to watch Ozarks. After that, there's no other reason for me to watch Netflix. Mobster Chronicles. Big shout out of respect to Paulie C for straightening out the the Gunner situation in an official capacity. That was a very difficult decision to make, I'm sure. This is a very serious situation. What do you think about that, Danny?
100%. Listen, the guy doesn't want any recognition. He doesn't want people to know who he is. He gave us permission to use his name. It's a fact. All he wants to say is what I said before, and I'll reiterate it again. There's no reason for Gunner to have his name in his mouth or his family because they never met him. They never knew who he was. So that's all he's stating, and that's it.
And, you know, and this is what happens. Scott Bernstein made the mistake of platforming Gunner for a long time. Scott has to pay for that. And Scott knows what he did was wrong. He comes out. We had a conversation about it. It bothers him because he was being too nice. But he did, in Scott Bernstein's defense, he kept warning Gunner, stop using my name. And Gunner just would not listen. Gunner's good at using other people's names to build himself up. You don't see me. You don't see MRE. You don't see FBS. We're not using other people's names to build ourselves up, people. We're here, and who we are is who we are. Okay, granted, FBS and me, we never hit our face and pretend we were somebody else. But that's the reality. BEK Brooklyn, welcome back, Danny Brooklyn.
Thank you, pal.
I'm taking that must be somebody you know, Danny.
I do.
Okay. Oh, Kodak. Okay. This is, people, I'm going to show you what garbage is. We give everybody a chance here. So we're going to put Kodak up here because Kodak's a little semi-retarded. I'm sorry to use the retard word, but he is. Because he's a pizza. He listens to Tony Pizza. He said, Tony Pizza said Danny's a rat that moved to Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, show me the paperwork. Come on, show me the paperwork.
And it's Tony Pizza.
Prick.
Yeah, Tony Pizza said that I gave hand jobs out during the 1970s.
You're gonna fucking talk over a guy living in a fucking tent? Come on, go to the next one.
Bill Press. Great show, Lee, Danny. Stay well. Thanks you, Brian. We appreciate it. Scott Bernstein is a fantastic author. He sure is. He has some really good mob stuff out there. And I respect Scott because Scott doesn't pretend that he didn't fuck up with Gunner. He's point blank about it. Oh, Jane Creek says, I'm the underboss of the Anthony Mundy crime family. Scott, can you vouch for me?
There you go.
Okay, let's see. Once again, we haven't mentioned this in a long time, but some of you are here that have not heard this. Danny, tell us Anthony Ramundi's story.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Anthony Ramundi was nothing but a glorified step and fetch it. That's all he ever did. Hung out in bars, got coffee, used to walk around Brooklyn in a long trench coat. He looked like the Undertaker. So listen, I'm not going to go with the guy's a comic book character. You're the people that make him bigger than what he is. So it is what it is. I'm not going to validate this fucking nitwit. So it is what it is.
And you know, in a way, you got to kind of like him because he's running a scam and a lot of people are buying it. But the fact of the matter is he's not a rat. There's no evidence that Anthony Ramundi's a rat. That we got to give him credit for. That's like Frances. He's forever mentioning his father, Sonny, to get more views on MobTube. And, you know, Danny, we were talking about Sonny Francis the other day. How many years did he actually spend on the street?
Sonny didn't spend a lot of years on the street, but, you know, he was always in and out of prison, you know, for the majority of his life, more than half his life.
Yeah.
But, you know, the big question is, how many times did Michael Franzese go see his father when he was in the nursing home? 2 times. Isn't that something? He loves his father so much, but he only went there 2 times to see him. It's pretty amazing.
Exactly. And this is true here. Ramundi family was the real... Anthony Ramundi did actually have family members that were bona fide gangsters, right?
What does that have to do with Anthony Raimondi?
Exactly. Once again, exactly. And that's just how it is. It's like if you have somebody that plays for the New York Yankees, does that make you a baseball player? Ray Raimondi. With a picture of me. Okay, I got to give you that one. That's a good one. Because I always call him Ray. That's because I'm such a wasp. Okay. Did Paul Carrado ever explain to you anything about the Central Sanitation fire of February 27th, 1976? No, because he's not a rat. Why would he talk about it? But, you know, I'll ask him if he wants to talk about it. Maybe he does. It's Jim, TG. It sounds like an interesting story, though. Okay, we'll take a few more here. Okay, Don Vito, to be fair, Michael Francis doesn't just do mob stuff on his channel. That's why he has 1 million subs. He covers a wide range of stuff. Don Vito, you have a name called Don Vito. For you to even accept somebody that's a known rat. See, it's not that Michael Francis is a rat. It's Michael Francis pretends he's not a rat. Right, Danny? Michael
Absolutely.
He goes on all the time and says, okay, let's explain this. Michael Francis said he never put nobody away.
Listen, I can't make this any clearer. You guys obviously don't do your due diligence. It's easy to say, yeah, he didn't rat, he didn't put nobody in. But there's a 302 out there on him. That's number one. That's a fact. Number two is a second fact. He admitted to being an informant. That's second. There's a New York Times article in regards to Norby Walters. He admits. And then there's a third one, I believe it's in Nassau County, that he admitted to the prosecutor that he's a cooperating witness in a case. Listen, don't believe what I tell you because I'm a moron. Do your due diligence. The paperwork is out there on Michael Francis. Michael Francis is a rat. You don't have to believe me, but at least go and do your due diligence and find out because it's readily available.
It is. It is, people. It's a simpleton like me can find it no problem. I mean, there's so much paperwork out there. When he says that, and Danny, here's what gets me. When Michael Francis says that he did not put Norby Walters away.
He did put Norby Walters
away. And why did they throw the case out? Because there was technical issues with the prosecution.
Listen, if you sit down with the United States government, for any reason whatsoever, you have no business sitting down with the United States government, right or wrong? Wrong, right. So if you sit down with the government for whatever reason to make your sentence lighter, to say, hey, listen, I can give you this, that, and the third on this one. What can you do for me? What is that definition of? He went in front of a subcommittee, a Senate subcommittee, and told them about boxing, how the mafia controlled certain boxes, whatever, the hierarchy of the Colombo crime family, whether if they knew that or not, that's what he did.
And didn't he also tell the ranks of people in the family, including his father?
Yes, whether they knew that or not, it doesn't matter. If you're doing that, you're a rat, period.
And when you take the oath, you're supposed to basically never mention anything about anybody's rank or who they are or who's involved. That's another thing.
Just like his rat brother. They all got the same gene. I don't know where they got it from.
And we came out here, and the most controversial show we put up, a lot of people attacked us when we put up evidence about Michael Francis cheating on his wife. We put up text messages. We put up recordings. And still, people wanted to say, Michael Francis ain't like that. It's okay. But Michael Francis runs a church, people. He goes and preaches about God, how it is about God. And yet he's out. So is he any better than Jimmy Swaggart or Jim Baker? There's no difference. They did the same thing. And they lost everything. Okay. Francis uses religion for money, yes, and tax write-offs and everything, people. He knew better than to tell about dealing with Mad Dog Cole. Okay. I get that. McGill, both of you. Okay, let's see. Okay, Don Vito. Francis with around 400,000 subs before he ever did a mob show. He used to do religious shows. His channel was completely different. Exactly, DP. He intertwined the two. And people on here love entertainment. Listen, we've been on for a little bit over an hour and a half. We've been above 200 that whole time. Oh, Bill. Look how many people's here, Bill. Okay. That's for an ex-friend of mine that says that Danny, the show's dying since the trolls left here. He diversified his channel. That's why his channel is successful. No one can't say that Michael Francis is not successful. He is successful. You know why? Because there's a lot of suckers out there. And guys like Michael Francis, they know how to run the big scam. Would you say pretty much, though, Michael Francis back in his day with the Columbos knew how to make money, Danny?
Unequivocally. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. He was one of the highest, members to make that kind of money. And that's well and good, but he's got a name. If Michael Francis put up his name and sold monkey shit, he'd be a millionaire. He'd be a fucking success.
And that's where you got to say to Michael Francis, Michael Francis has been running a scam his whole life, and he finds new scams, and he's really good at it. And this is his new scam. That's all this is. He's laughing all the way to the bank. That's what it comes down to. It's like, whether you like Sammy Gravano or not, when they did that thing, when they got together, Danny, Sammy looked point at him and said, "You're a rat, dude. You're no different than me." He goes, "Why are you saying you didn't send no one to prison?" Even Sammy looked at him and said, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me?"
Of course.
Michael Francis and God we trust, all others pay cash. Michael did put away Norby, but he got off in the end, but he did put his father. No, Norby only got off because of other issues. It had nothing to do, and this is where Michael Francis is lying. It has nothing to do with Michael Francis not testifying. He did. Norby Walters would have went to prison if it wasn't for other stuff, right? Pretty much.
Correct.
Yep. But he did put his father's friend and driver for 50 years in jail. How his father's son, he must have felt. And a lot of people don't talk about that. Okay, Joey Electric, I listened to Blood Code. Okay. We're going to take one more, and we're going to call it a day, people. Michael destroyed Sammy in that sit-down. You know what? Who cares? I didn't even watch it. Did you watch the sit-down between those two?
No, I only saw the highlight when they were screaming at each other. Listen, it is what it is. Michael Francis was never a tough guy. He's still not a tough guy. He ain't going to fucking break a tree branch. So you guys believe what the fuck you want.
And how long was your uncle around him, Danny?
Over 11 years.
So your uncle pretty much was right next to him most of the time.
They used to go to each other's home.
Right. So if anybody knows him, it
don't believe me just because my uncle was around him or what. If I know things, if I don't know things, the guy's a clown. And yeah, he's got a tremendous show. He does whatever he wants to do. But you guys need to put things in perspective because most of you are all fanboys. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and you know what? If I didn't have a show, I might be a fanboy, Danny. Okay, people, listen, we appreciate you being here. Danny, would you like to say goodbye to everybody?
I appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great Sunday, and thanks again for your concerns about me being sick. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And we're leaving with over 200. So, we can't ask for more. Today was a very great show. People are really in tune. As for Gunner, we have no hard feelings toward Gunner. But Gunner is calling this show liars. So we're just saying, look, we're calling you out, Gunner. You do what you got to do, but if you come after this show again, we're going to put more stuff up. That's what it comes down to. Okay, people, you take care. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Take care.